Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're talking about the attack, which is often called the most important punch in boxing, and that is the jab. Now, you might be going, why do I have to learn a jab? I already know this. What is this guy going to teach me? Well, we're going to talk about a number of unique ways in which you can throw the jab, which you probably haven't been taught before. And if you can learn this and really get it down and add it to your arsenal, your game is just going to go way up. So really the key to this episode is recognizing that when you think you know how to throw a technique, it really just means you know how to throw the basic version of that technique. So if you go into the gym and you just practice that 1,000 times in a class, that's great. You're gonna have a good basic jab, but you might be getting caught by other people who can use that jab in a number of different ways in which you haven't seen. And I wanna make sure you understand what these are. Even if you don't decide to add it to your arsenal, it's gonna become something which you can actively defend when people use these tricky methods, which I'm gonna show you today. The first jab which I wanna show you, which is a little different, is an inverted jab. What does inverted mean? Well, we're taking that hand and we're flipping it upside down. But there's no point in me doing that if I keep everything right where it is. Normally, I'll either drop my head to the side or stay stationary and I flip my hand over, and that makes perfect sense. But what happens if I step this direction? When I step off to the side, there's no point in me turning it over anymore. I can just turn it up and have that palm facing towards the ceiling. The reason this one works so well, if you're an orthodox versus orthodox or southpaw versus southpaw, is when you look at somebody's hands, if I start turning here, there's this little hole up the middle. So if I catch my angle, I see that little hole and then I snap my jab out. The potential danger of this one is normally our shoulder protects our jaw and we don't step into the power source, which is usually coming from the right hand. But in this instance, we are moving this way, our shoulder is low, so we need to be ready to bail on the idea to throw the inverted jab if we see that right hand loading up. But very often in my experience, you're fairly safe, you're moving around, you're waiting for it, you step, boom, and then you can follow with your own right hand as long as you get that hand right back to your head. The inverted jab is something which I really like. It's clever and you should add it to your game. Next up, we're talking about preloading the jab. Now we can do this in a number of ways, but the essence of it is normally when we jab, our left shoulder is in front, if we're orthodox, and we just rotate. But that's the reason that the jab does not have as much power as the cross, because on this one we have rotation and on this one we don't, or more rotation off the cross. What we can do though is preload and then spring in. 1, 2, and now you're gonna get that much more power. The trick behind this one is to either disguise it with a cross and then come in, so this becomes the weak hand, or I just have to really bury my weight down and hope they think it's a hook, because a lot of times people do that gazelle punch and they'll leap in, but instead I come from here and I go straight up the middle. This is a tricky shot. Preload the jab, you're moving around, you give them that little second instead of just snapping out, little second, and then you attack. Just right from here, drop, and then spring down the middle. You can get so much power on this jab, and then all of a sudden, instead of like a rangefinder gauging the distance to get to your power shot, this has become the power shot, and it will absolutely throw people off, and you can score knockdowns with it. The next very underutilized jab is down to the body. And I know a lot of people go, jab to the body. I can't knock somebody down to the head with my jab, so why am I gonna ever go down to the body? But you can light that body up, because very often people have their hands high, they see movement from the jab, they go like this, and that torso is wide open. But you wanna get your head really buried off the center line. You wanna drop it to the side as you step in and make sure that you're super safe. In my experience, although this is not a shot which I'll knock people down with, it's very hard to get countered when you throw a body jab. I don't think it really ever happens. I just, from out here, step in either with one foot or both feet. A lot of times I prefer just one foot, and I'll just step down, shoulder really high because my head drops. I'm really in this odd position for them to counter. My other hand's really high, and I can stick it to the body and land. Yeah, maybe you're not gonna put them down with one shot, but repeatedly hitting them and hitting them and hitting them, it's gonna start to take its toll. And before we move on to jab number 4, I wanna take a moment and give a shout out to the sponsor of this episode. They almost feel like they're the sponsor of this channel at this point because these guys are just on board with supporting me. We're talking about Biooptimizers and their magnesium product. As I get deep into training camp, I start to feel that fatigue. It's like, like this morning I was running up the mountain and my legs were burning and I was just going, I need to get back home and I need to throw down some magnesium so that before I get to my next session and in my nap period, which I will actually have active recovery time and feel that much better. And yeah, I'm about to go and do my workout right now and I'm feeling recovered, but I did take this. If you guys want to get on something that's going to help your sleep, help you recover faster, you can head over to magnesiumbreakthrough.com/Gabriel. Use that promo code Gabriel10. And remember, you're not only supporting your body and your health, but you're also supporting the channel, which is very appreciated. Now, the next one that I have been hit with before, and I really don't like. I don't like throwing it much, but defending it, I like that even less. This is a weird punch. This is something that nobody's gonna teach you at the gym normally. You go from this position and you drop your hand below your elbow. Now it becomes a tricep extension where I flick my arm up. The reason I've had trouble with this in the past is when I see the jab come, I close like this. But a lot of times my elbows don't close as I do it. I just close for the jab to the forehead or the face. And there's still this hole under here. So if somebody does that, you can have your hands moving and just come under and you just sort of hit them like it's an uppercut. You're getting hit here and you're going, what the heck? The guy didn't uppercut me. How's he landing? And yeah, it's not the prettiest punch in the world. And again, not the most powerful, but if you're moving around and you just flick, you just hit somebody, boom, you can get a decent amount of power and throw somebody off enough that it sets up the big power cross. If you lift their head even a little bit, boom, and then you come with the power cross or a big long hook, you wrap around behind their guard if they went like this and then really close. This is something which actually works very nice. Now the trick is, again, you can't really be here and then go to here and to there. That's very slow. So you need to have your arms getting a little bit looser. You kind of level out and then the flick is a little bit less noticeable. I'm moving, and I just flick it out. Defensively, because my hand comes back to here, I'm probably guarding with my shoulder at my jaw in the aftermath. And the last jab I want to talk about today is the rangefinder, where you almost have a pull out and you just pump little jabs out. And this one can be surprisingly dangerous because people go, oh, the arm's extended, there's not much power, but we can still generate force with those hips and shoulders snapping. And it's not like a 1-inch Bruce Lee punch because we're obviously not right here and just doing this, but it's gonna still probably be about 6 inches. And the amount of power behind it is substantial. I've sparred with some really good boxers where they hit me and I go, ooh, okay, I've got to be wary of that. And this thing is constantly controlling the distance. It's controlling the distance and then it's just snapping out. It's always there. And this thing, it's kind of like, we'll call it the 6-inch jab. 6-inch jab is very difficult. It's difficult to get around offensively for your opponent, and defensively, it's very good for me. Because if I see any movement, I just back up. If they go stationary, I hit them. It's very strong and something which I recommend you try as well. So there are 5 jabs which maybe you haven't seen before or actively being taught that you can add to your arsenal and really mess people up with. And then in addition to that, you keep working the jab like you were before. You have your regular jab and those 5 to back it up, mix it up, and throw them off. So we'll call it there. You enjoyed the episode, please give it a like. If you haven't already, join the channel, get subscribed. Train hard, guys, work that jab, and I'll see you back here soon for another video.